त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देवा त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देवा त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देवा.
Thank you very much, Induji, for your invocation. And dear friends, welcome for an informal introduction to Tripti Dipa. Let me begin in a formal way with Guru Arpana. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Welcome, dear friends. Today's class we will be dividing into 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 components. Now, before we begin anything new, we'll consolidate on all what we already know, because when we are studying something like Tripti Dipa, we need our fundamentals of Vedanta to be very strong. So some of these fundamentals, I will recap. What are the fundamentals of Vedanta? What are the fundamental laws of Vedanta? About Sri Vidyaranya Swamy. After Adi Shankaracharya, he's one of the greatest of acharyas, post-Shankara acharyas. A little bit about his life, but mainly trying to tell each one of you to look into available sources of information, particularly the internet, to get some more information so that you develop a love for this great teacher. What is Tripti Dipa Prakaranam? What is Panchadashi? There is a 10th man story. Now, although we begin Panchadashi, it is always sad to leave the Gita. So we decided that throughout this class, throughout our Panchadashi, we will have, at least one presentation where a person will say, this is my favorite Gita verse. Each one of us can have more than one favorite Gita verse. And whatever Gita verse that has touched you very deeply, you are asked to explain. How did I get to study Panchadashi? Where are the sources of information for me? I will share it with all of you, and I will tell you how, if you can get this source of information, you will be in a position to be able to study. Now, Param Vedanta has got a different teaching methodology. It is, see, whenever I teach and you listen, there is a certain amount of learning that comes. But then when you have to present one verse, then you will realize the amount of work required to make one verse explanation. So what we will do is, those amongst our group who are very keen will be allotted 1 or 2 verses per class. And as a model today, we will have Chetna presenting 2 verses. Now, why suddenly it has come? Because of some travel assignment. She was not going to be there at the time when it is going to come up. So it is going to be coming a little earlier than scheduled. So that is the plan. If Shamala, you're ready, we can have the Guru rendering.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Shri Guruve Aruve Sharanagi Baruve Karuneyanu Kori Baruve. Shri Guruve Aruve Sharanagi Baruve Karuneyanu Kori Baruve. Prakruti Tanda Bidi Hoogalannu Shri Charana Kereyutiruve. Prakruti Tanda Bidi Hoogalannu Shri Charana Kereyutiruve. Shri Charana Kereyutiruve. ಆಪಾದ ಪದ್ಮ ಎದೆಗವಚಿ ಹಿಡಿದು ನಡುನೆತ್ತಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿಕೊಂಬೆ. ಆಪಾದ ಪದ್ಮ ಎದೆಗವಚಿ ಹಿಡಿದು ನಡುನೆತ್ತಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿಕೊಂಬೆ. ಉಸಿರಿಂದಲದನೆ ಬಲಗೊಂಬೆ ನನ್ನ ಕಣ್ಗೊಂಬೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಕೊಂಬೆ. ಉಸಿರಿಂದಲದನೆ ಬಲಗೊಂಬೆ ನನ್ನ ಕಣ್ಗೊಂಬೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಕೊಂಬೆ. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುವೆ ಅರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಬರುವೆ ಕರುಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೋರಿ ಬರುವೆ. ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ತಂದ ಬಿಡಿ ಹೂಗಳನ್ನು ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಕಣ್ಣಿಂದ ನಿನ್ನ ನನ್ನನ್ನ ಸೇರಿ ಎದೆಯೊಳನ ಬೆಳಕನೆತ್ತಿ. ಕಣ್ಣಿಂದ ನಿನ್ನ ನನ್ನನ್ನ ಸೇರಿ ಎದೆಯೊಳನ ಬೆಳಕನೆತ್ತಿ. ತಿರುಮೂರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡು ನನ್ನನ್ನು ನಿನ್ನ ಚಿನ್ಮೋದ ಬೋಧ ಬಿತ್ತಿ. ತಿರುಮೂರ್ತಿ ಮಾಡು ನನ್ನನ್ನು ನಿನ್ನ ಚಿನ್ಮೋದ ಬೋಧ ಬಿತ್ತಿ. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುವೆ ಅರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಬರುವೆ ಕರುಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೋರಿ ಬರುವೆ. ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ತಂದ ಬಿಡಿ ಹೂಗಳನ್ನು ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಭವ ಭವ.
You have gone mute, Shamala. Your audio has gone mute. Baba, start from Baba.
ಭವ ಭವಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ನ ಮುಂದೆತ್ತಿ ಒತ್ತಿ ತಂದಂಥ ತಂದೆ ನೀನು. ಭವ ಭವಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ನ ಮುಂದೆತ್ತಿ ಒತ್ತಿ ತಂದಂಥ ತಂದೆ ನೀನು. ಭಾವಕ್ಕೆ ಇಳಿದು ಸದ್ಭಾವ ಬರಿಸಿ ಬರುವಂತೆ ಮಾಡು ನಾನು. ಭಾವಕ್ಕೆ ಇಳಿದು ಸದ್ಭಾವ ಬರಿಸಿ ಬರುವಂತೆ ಮಾಡು ನಾನು. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುವೆ ಅರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಬರುವೆ ಕರುಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೋರಿ ಬರುವೆ. ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ತಂದ ಬಿಡಿ ಹೂಗಳನ್ನು ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಅಂತರ್ಯದೊಂದು ಚೈತನ್ಯ ನಿನ್ನ ಕೈಂಕರ್ಯ ಕರ್ತೃವಾಗಿ. ಅಂತರ್ಯದೊಂದು ಚೈತನ್ಯ ನಿನ್ನ ಕೈಂಕರ್ಯ ಕರ್ತೃವಾಗಿ. ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಜ್ಞ ಬರಲಿ ಚೈತೇಶನಾಗಿ ಮಧುಬೋಧ ಮೋದಮಾಗಿ. ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಜ್ಞ ಬರಲಿ ಚೈತೇಶನಾಗಿ ಮಧುಬೋಧ ಮೋದಮಾಗಿ. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುವೆ ಅರುವೆ ಶರಣಾಗಿ ಬರುವೆ ಕರುಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೋರಿ ಬರುವೆ. ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ತಂದ ಬಿಡಿ ಹೂಗಳನ್ನು ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ. ಶ್ರೀಚರಣ ಕೆರೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವೆ.
Thank you very much, Shamala. That was a nice way to begin our classes. We begin now with the fundamentals of Vedanta. The first question is, who am I? By now, we know one thing very clearly. We are a mixture. And our mixture is, we are a combination of body, mind, and Atma. How do we remember this all the time? Bhagwan Ramana has given us the methodology, and I want you to note this and keep this in your prayer room and make this a daily prayer. Naham, Beham, Oham, Soham. All students of Vedanta should have this in your mind. Naham, Beham. I am not my body. That means I am someone other than my body. If I am not my body, because I have brought up with the idea I am this body, then with the help of Guru and Shastras, Koham means to inquire. And when you inquire with the help of Guru and Shastra, at some stage you discover that you are none other than him. Saha aham asmi is called soham asmi. Now, this is a wonderful formula for us to proceed. Now, all of us are caught in the web of what is called a Hridaya Granthi. In future classes, I'm going to ask you this quiz. What is this Hridaya Granthi? And Hridaya Granthi is the knot in the heart, which is a combination of three things. It is avidya, kama, karma, and if you want to add one more, punarjanma. So Hridaya Granthi is a combination of, is basically avidya. Now we should be very clear what is avidya. Avidya means not ignorance, but partial knowledge, partial ignorance. Because I have partial knowledge, what is the partial knowledge? I know I am. And what do I know I am? I know I am this body, but I do not know I am Atma. And because this body-mind has limitations, then what happens? A thought will come in my mind. If I do this, then something will happen. That is called karma. Once karma comes, can you keep quiet? You have to do some action. When you do an action, a good action gets you punya, bad action gets papa, and then becomes the whole cycle of punarjanma. And this cycle is a perpetuating cycle. And those of us students of Vedanta have at some stage to break this Hridaya Granthi. That day is the day of celebration when you can call Vidyate Hridaya Granthi, Chindante Sarva Samshaya, Kshiyanti Cha Asya Karmani. All my karmas are gone, all my doubt is gone. Tasmin Drishte Paravare. Now, there are many Gita verses, but some of them we need to remember. This is Gita verse from the 5th chapter, verse 15. Nadate kasyachit papam na chaiva sukritam vibhuhu. Beautiful. That means the real me has no papa or no punya. Then the next line is something I want you to remember and quote wherever you can. Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Ajnanena avritam jnanam. The wisdom in me has been covered, avritam. When you are in Panchadashi, the word avritam will come many times. Avritam means covering. The jnanam or the spiritual wisdom or that knowledge that I am that is covered by ajnanena. Tena muhyanti jantavaha. Therefore, all of us are suffering. Now, the word jnanam means description or spiritual understanding. Jnanam. Avritam means veiled or being covered. By ajnanena, tena jantavaha, all beings are being deluded. Now, because I do not know who I am, and because there is karma, I am a karta and I experience all these things. And the real me is a karta and a bhokta. So again, repetition, ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Now, if my cause of all my suffering is ignorance, what is the solution? If all my suffering is based on ignorance, the solution should be only one. And what is the solution? Jnanam. It should be knowledge. We are already that. At some stage, we need to claim that I am Sri Dakshinamurti. And Dakshinamurti will keep one leg on apasmara, on forgetfulness, that I should never forget my true nature. When I go into my prayer room, I'd say, Naham, Deham, Koham, Soham. I am that. But when I come out of my prayer room and somebody says something which is upsetting, I should not become defensive. I should not become offensive. And therefore, I should remember all the time, I am that. This is another story that I have shared many times. This is a story of two friends, which we call them as Kupuswamy and Ramaswamy. Kupuswamy and Ramaswamy were in a bar. They were having their first round and second round of drinks. And when Kupuswamy was fairly drunk, Ramaswamy decided to have a prank at him. And he says, you know what, Kupuswamy, before I came here, I went to your house and I found out that your wife has become a widow.
Had no such powers. The things
Ramaswamy plays a prank and he says, you know what? I discovered that your wife has become a widow. Now, this is a very silly story, but it has a very significance from a Vedantic perspective. Hearing that his wife has become a widow, Kupuswamy begins to cry, deeply saddened, crying loudly. Appaswamy from another table and comes and finds out what is the matter. And he says, Kupuswamy, are you drunk or something? How can your wife become a widow when you are alive? He says, you ask Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy is the proof. He has gone home and seen that my wife has become a widow. Anyway, this is a story. You see Kupuswamy is crying. And my question to each one of you who is listening, and the question is Kupuswamy's suffering real? Kupuswamy is in agony that his wife has become a widow. Now, is Kupuswamy's suffering real? Now, the answer is, even though the basis of his suffering is not real, that means he cannot, his wife cannot become a widow when he is alive. But in his drunkenness, he has got some idea in his head and he is crying. Now, this is the story. how do we wake a person up from drunkenness? How do we wake a person from ignorance? So the only solution is to get over that state of drunkenness, get over the state of ignorance. Sri Dakshinamurti Stotra has in the opening verse this famous line, Yat Sakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Swatmanam Eva Advayam Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaha Shri Dakshinamurtaye Yat Sakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye. Now, why are we studying Panchadashi? Only for one reason. I want you to wait for that dawn of Prabodha Samaya, when you can wake up very silently and say, yes, I have woken up. I know my true nature. And at that time, you will discover that this whole world is not outside of you. In fact, the whole world is within you. Now, I will go into certain fundamental laws of Vedanta. For a moment, I can stop. And if there is any interaction, any question at this stage, I will take one question and then proceed. Does anybody have any question on me so far? If there are no questions, I will proceed. Now, at each stage, I will give a little break so that there is no monotony, because, it is a very informal discussion. So you are welcome to, whenever I give this break, to stop and ask me any particular, you have gone a little fast, I'm not clear about something.
Light is not working.
Is there a question?
The darkness.
All right.
Let him mute, sir.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You quoted a few lines in the start of the your class. I was just wondering if you could repeat those lines, please.
Is it this Naham, Deham, Koham, Soham?
No, not before that. You, I think, quoted from one of the probably
This one? Is this Sadashiva Samaramba?
No. After this, you quoted a couple of lines.
If somebody can help me to remember what is that, which is not there on my... Is it Avidya Kama Karma?
No, not at all, sir.
What would you find in the second? One before this. Vidyate Vedanta.
Vidyate Hridaya Granthi. Is that what?
Yes.
Vidyate.
Yes.
Now, all right. Sri Narayan, these things we will be repeating many times because this is an important point. But I will still tell you. What is this Hridaya Granthi? Hridaya Granthi is the knot in my heart. The knot in the heart is basically, I know so many things. I know I am, but I do not know who I am. So that is called half knowledge. Avidya is the problem. I do not know my true knowledge. Because of that, we have this vicious cycle of avidya, kama, karma. Now, at some stage, I will touch on Drik, Drishya, Viveka. But this quotation, I said, Vidyate Hridaya Granthi, Chindanti Sarva Samshaya, Kshiyante Cha Asya Karmani, Tasmin Drishte Paravari. Now, it just came to my mind during this presentation. For those of you here, it is my daily prayer because it is an important prayer. Vidyate Hridaya Granthi. What does it mean? That knot in my heart is broken. Chiddante Sarva Samshaya. All my doubt is cleared. Kshiyante Cha Asya Karmani. All my karma has disappeared. Tasmin Drishte Paravare. For one who has got that vision, the Hridaya Granthi is broken. Now, this is the end point. See, whenever we start our journey, that means if I want to go to Kailasha Manasarovar, it is important to see that I have already reached. So they say, fake it before you make it. And part of all our stories is to see, and dear friends, all of you, we are already that. We are already that which we can possibly be. And if you have that vision, that will help you to be more successful in our journey. Shall I proceed, sir? Narayan, sir. Did you get the verse that is from the Mundaka Upanishad? Vidyate Hridaya Granthi Chindanti Sarva Samshaya Kshiyante Cha Asya Karmani Tasmin Drishte Paravari. With your permission, I will proceed.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, all students of Param Vedanta, now there is one teaching which Swamiji says again and again are very important. What are these two fundamental laws of Vedanta? If these two fundamental laws of Vedanta are clear, you have a very strong foundation in Vedanta. If these two fundamental laws of Vedanta are not clear, then the purpose of this satsang is to build a strong foundation. So all of you who are joined us in satsang, this is our commitment. Satsangatve nisangatvam, nisangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivan muktihi. The way to jivan mukti is through satsanga. Through satsanga, we will work on, and working on, even if I do not have some basic qualifications to study this advanced text called Panchadashi, but if we are in satsang, we will handhold each other so that we can understand and proceed. In the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is also termed as Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, and this is the basis of another Vedantic work called Drik Drishya Viveka. It is also the foundation of one of the most important prakriya. Prakriya is a technique that teachers use to help us to discover our true nature. And one of these prakriyas is Atma Anatma Viveka. Synonymous is Drik Drishya Viveka or Kshetra Kshetrajna Viveka. Verse 2 of this chapter goes like this. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Idam Shariram Kaunteya. Kshetram iti abhidiyate. Yetad yo veti tam prahu kshetrajna iti tad vidaha. So Shri Krishna begins the teaching by saying, this body, I want you to experience your own body and touch your body and say Shri Krishna is describing our body as our field of experience. That means I'm coming to the first fundamental law of Vedanta. Whatever I experience, I am not. I am someone other than whatever I experience. So this body that I experience, I am not. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidiyate. Kshetram means not only my body, everything that I experience is considered as kshetram. Why Shri Krishna has chosen the word kshetram for body? Because that is the closest to me. And if you want to work on naham deham, you have to work on this. I am not this body. The next line says, Yetad yo veti, those who know this, tam prahuhu, kshetrajna iti tad vidaha. Now, who knows this kshetram? Who knows this body? Who knows this field of experience? The knower of this field of experience is kshetrajna, the knower of this field. And then he says, Tat Vidaha, the wise people, Prahu, they say, the knower of the Kshetram is called Kshetrajna. Now, therefore, already Shri Krishna has made the whole world into two. One is the field of my experiences, including my body, which he calls as Kshetram. And then the knower of the field, he calls as Kshetrajna. And then he makes a Mahavakya. A Mahavakya is a great statement. It's a statement which gives you spiritual wisdom. And this Mahavakya goes like this. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Now, Kshetrajnaha, the one who knows this body, Shri Krishna says, mam vidhi. Please know, vidhi means to know, is none other than me, the Shri Krishna principle, Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata, in you and in everybody. Now you are able to listen. Why? Because you're conscious. That consciousness in you, that consciousness which allows me to speak these words, are Shri Krishna is saying, that is me. That is the Shri Krishna principle. And all those who love the Bhagavad Gita will understand and take this as gospel truth. And then Shri Krishna makes another great statement, which Swami Paramarthananda has taken as the first fundamental principle of Vedanta. He says, Kshetra Kshetrajnayor Jnanam, that distinction between Kshetrajna and Kshetram, that means I am someone other than whatever I experience. Yet tad jnanam, that knowledge, matam mama, in my opinion, mata is my opinion. In my opinion, Shri Krishna says, is the knowledge. So let us now understand, I am the knower of the field of experience, and that knower is divine. Yet jnanam, this knowledge of the knower and the known, tat jnanam, that is really the knowledge, matam mama. That is what Shri Krishna has said. So what are the two fundamental principles of Vedanta? The first fundamental principle is, I am different, or I am other than whatever I experience. I experience a wall, I experience this computer, I'm not that I know. Now what we need to work on, I experience this body, I experience this mind, I am not my body, I am not my mind. This is the first fundamental principle, and that has come to us from the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. In the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which talks about Gunatraya and Guna Atita, Swamiji has brought out another important factor. And what is that second fundamental law? And this is Swamiji, in Swamiji's words, this is mind-boggling. If you have understood, you can declare yourself to be a mukta right away. Shri Krishna, Swamiji says, all attributes I experience, that means I'm seeing a computer in front of me, which is dark in color, which is black in color. All attributes I experience belong to the experienced objects. The computer is, the black that is there belongs to the computer, not to me. I have no color. That means I have no attributes. As Atma, I am Nirguna. Repeat this statement mentally. As Atma, I am Nirguna. As Atma, I am Nirguna. I have no attributes. So what are these two fundamental laws says? I am not my body. I am not my mind. I am the witness of my body. I function through this body and mind. The body and mind is only an instrument. Whatever happens to my body and mind do not affect me, because I am someone other than the body. That is the first fundamental law. The second fundamental law says I have no attributes. Normally, attributes are in time, attributes are in space, attributes relating to matter or objects. Coming from time, I am Nitya. That means I have no birth, I have no death. This body has birth, this body has death. I have been there from the very beginning. If there is a beginning, I will be there till the very end if there is an end. This understanding itself gives you a deep sense of timelessness. From now on, my body is in time. I am in eternity. I am unaffected by time. Yamadharmaraja, who's called Kala Tattva, has no business with me. No business with me as Atma. My body will go through what Swamiji says, growing, graying, going. That happens to my body. But my distinction from my body goes on. And this is a very revealing experience. I am not going to be affected by time. Time will affect my body, but time cannot affect me. Second is, my body is located here, but I am not. I have no location. I am space-like. I am all-pervading. My body has height, weight. My body has a certain color. My body has got certain health and limitations. But all those limitations belong to the body. I am Atma, Brahma. I as Atma, I am Nirguna. I have no attributes. I am infinite. Now, based on this, we have a few corollaries. And these few corollaries will tell us this. My mind is a product of my gunas. No amount of spiritual practice can reduce the Rajoguna and the Tamoguna in my mind. That means I have a certain problem with my body. I have a certain problem with my mind. There is no perfect body. There is no perfect mind. So what to do? Shri Krishna says, you have to transcend the body. You have to transcend the mind. You have to go beyond the body, go beyond the mind. And that is what all our 13th and the 14th chapter tells us. Atma is our true nature. All mental activities are a product of these three gunas. So sattva, rajo, tamas belong to the mind. And this consciousness that I am guna atita. Because of this fundamental ignorance or avidya, I identify with my body and mind, and I think I am a limited individual. And the whole spiritual teaching is use your body, use your mind. Why do we suffer from samsara? Because of this body-mind identification. So the final conclusion in the fundamentals of Vedanta is this. We have to train our minds to claim that the Atma is the real I. This body-mind is incidental or vyavaharika. All of us have clearly defined roles which we need to play sincerely, not seriously. If I have a role as a doctor, if I have a role as a parent, now these roles we have to play, but how? Play it 100% like an actor does on the stage, but all the time remembering I am someone other than my body. Remember how Dakshinamurti keeps this apasmara on the feet. It is like that. I want you to remember that. I will take a small break before I come back again. We can have 1 minute of questions before we proceed on the introduction to Tripti Dipa, because this background is important. That means I have a certain Vedantic background, and in all our satsang classes, we will be reinforcing this background that I know my true nature. I am someone other than my body and mind, and I'm going to reinforce this in all these classes. 1 minute for any discussion if you have.
The physical pain which we have, or any self-realized person, then he does shout or scream or feels the pain. So whatever you believe, so how do we face? I mean, then we know we are attached to the body if there is a pain.
That is true. You know, whenever there is a physical pain, see, it is extremely difficult to be able to make this body disidentification when there is physical pain. Whenever we are going through difficulties, whenever we are going through a lot of psychological anxiety. Now, supposing a near one is ill in hospital, and then you do not know what is the diagnosis, what is the outcome of treatment. And whenever these thoughts are there in your mind, this possibility that I am someone other than the body, I am Atma, impossible to work on. That is why I'm saying all these teachings are a preparation for the winter of our life. You know, when we are fit in our bodies, when we are fit in our minds, this is the time for us to build what is Tam Stitikshasva Bharata. Matra Sparshasu Kaunteya. Shri Krishna says, when you have this body, your body will interact with the sense organs. Matra Sparshasu Sita Ushna Sukha Dukkha Adaya. You will experience hot, you will experience cold, you will experience sukha, you will experience dukkha. But then he says something, Agama Pahino Anityaha Tamstitikshasva Bharata. O Bharata, O Arjuna, that means O Vinayakan, O Sandhya, Malati, O all of you. That is Shri Krishna, when he uses Arjuna, he's talking all of us. I want you to be mentally strong because your body will go through pain. At that time, it is difficult to have this body disidentification. Very important point. But then, as I said, we have to start. But then even in difficult moments, if a person is trained, you can be able to handle it. But I appreciate your question, that it is not easy to say body disidentification when there is bodily pain. Can I proceed, or is there any more question or any more doubts? I will proceed. Are my slides seen? If somebody can say yes.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
This is a beautiful prayer, and I want all of you and all our classes, we will be chanting this prayer. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Pada Ambu Janmane Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Grasika Eka Karmani. This is the opening verse of Panchadashi chapter 1. And because this brings in a Guru salutation, we will use this in our classes. Shankarananda was the teacher of Vidyaranya and his brother Bharati Tirtha. Now, for us, we don't know who Shankarananda, although he may be a very great man. He has written a lot of Vedantic works. Some of them are extremely difficult to understand. There is great commentaries available by him on the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Shankarananda. But then our Swamiji only has said, you can take Shankara as none other than Sri Dakshinamurti. The word Shankara means Sham Mangalam iti Shankara. Shankara means one who brings in auspiciousness. So I begin my Panchadashi classes by doing Namaskara to my personal Guru and to Lord Shankara. Guru Pada Ambu Janmane. Ambu means water. Ambuja, that which is born out of water, that is the lotus. My Guru's feet is like a lotus. Now there is a little play on these words. Janmane. Janmane Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Grasika Eka Karmani. Janmane. My Guru has taken birth and he has Eka Karmani. I have to break the last line, the last word. Eka Karmani. Graha Grasika. It is one word actually. Mahamoha Graha Grasika Eka Karmani. My Guru has only one job. And what is the job of my Guru? My Guru's only job is to take us off from that crocodile. Graha here means crocodile. That monster or crocodile, which is causing us samsara. Savilasa. Savilasa means because of ignorance, we have this whole problem of samsara. My Guru's only job is to help us to move out of samsara. In subsequent classes, we'll go into a little more detail, but let us just remember these beautiful phrases. Namah Shri Shankarananda, Guru Pada Ambu Janmane, Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Grasika Eka Karmani. My Guru's only job is to help us to come out of this one. Now, the entire Tripti Dipa Prakaranam, is based on one word, one mantra in the Brihadaranya Upanishad, 4.4.14. That is the brilliance of Vidyaranya. Vidyaranya has taken one mantra from the Brihadaranya Upanishad, and this is something that we need to study. For the next 4 months, we'll be studying this verse thoroughly in detail. Atmanam Chet Vijaneyat Ayam Asmiti Purushaha Kimichan Kasya Kamaya Shariram Anusam Jwared. Now, very briefly, I will explain this verse. Purushaha. Now, this is called Chandas Prayog. The Vedas have their own freedom to distort or make Purusha Purushaha. So every time we'll be calling it Purushaha, although it is none other than Purusha. Purusha means, it doesn't mean man. The limited I, my ego, I should know who, that I am Atma, that the Purusha in me should know I am Atma. How I should know? I am asmi iti, that which is very close to me is Atma. Che Vijaniyat. Janiyat means to know. Vijaniyat, very clearly. Chet means if. If I get to know my true nature, that I am Naham Deham Koham Soham. I know that I am Saha Aham Asmi. Then what happens? Kim Ichan, what desire is there in my heart? Kasya Kamaya, who is there in need to have any desire? And when there is no object to desire and there is nobody to desire, why will I struggle with this body? And one of our teachers will say, once if you have really understood this, your whole life is going to change, because you're no longer going to struggle with your body, because you realize there is nothing to do, there is nowhere to go. And for the next 4 months, we will go into each word, into every detail of this one Upanishadic mantra. Dear friends, why have we chosen Panchadashi chapter 7? For a very particular reason. Now, this program is coming immediately after Guru Purnima. All of us have got spiritual knowledge. All of us know about Brahman. Many of us are teachers of Gita, teachers of the Upanishad. So spiritual knowledge is very clear. I know all this stuff, but my life has not made a great difference. You know, if I go by my FIR scores, I'm certainly much, much better than what I was before. I don't get so upset. I'm able to handle myself much better. I know that if not for Vedantic wisdom, I would not have been able to handle the way my life is. But then, Manushutvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha. I am here to complete my journey and move to Jnana Nishta. And this is my hope that Tripti Dipa will help us to move from Jnanam to Jnana Nishta. Some time ago, we requested Swami Anubhavananda ji. Once in a year, he comes and visits us. Those of us, all of us for that matter, most of us do not have a personal guru to whom we report to on a regular basis. Once in a year, we see these gurus come to our town. And because of traffic and all these problems, when they come to Bangalore, we will be able to attend one talk in the evening. So we requested him, can you come and spend 1 week with us outside Bangalore, where we will have the ability to stay with you from morning to late into the night, to have at least 4 classes in a day. Instead of having 1 class or 2 classes, we will have 4 classes. Not only that, we have the opportunity to see Sthita Prajna Kabasha, a person who has got spiritual knowledge. How does he walk? How does he talk? How do we live it? So he has given us this time. This time is between the 5th of October to the 11th of October in a place called Murudeshwara. I will let you know. It is a very scenic place on the western coast, and you can see the place where it is a very nice hotel on the sea, where we have good living conditions. It's a holy place by itself, very close to Gokarna. And to the south is also this Mukambika. And if you go a little further, Udupi Sri Krishna, and then Sringeri. All these are, you know, byproduct temptations for us to, but the greatest temptation is to be with the Guru, to be with Panchadashi, to help us to move from Dhyanam to Jnana Nishta. And that will be dates in October. There is a date. All right. So until that time, that means before Vijayadashami, we should be very clear on this chapter of Panchadashi. And you know why I'm doing these classes in a particular way. Panchadashi is an advanced text. Although Vidyaranya has written this book, one of the first words he uses in the first chapter, remember we are going into the 7th chapter, and you may ask me, why not go into the first chapter, 2nd chapter? Now, it is not required. There are many teachers who begin with the 7th chapter as the first teaching. The 7th chapter is considered as the magnum opus, the best that is there in the entire Panchadashi. And it is not really required that you have to go to first chapter, 2nd chapter. I've had the opportunity to study chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and now we are studying chapter 7. In the first chapter, in the 2nd verse or so, he uses the word Sukha Bodhaya. Sukha Bodhaya means what? I will do my very best to make this spiritual knowledge Sukha. Sukha means easy. Bodha means wisdom. I will give you this wisdom in as easy a manner as possible. Now, as I'm running out of time, I'm not going to tell you a lot about the biography of Sri Vidyaranya. I want you to go to the internet and find more stories about Vidyaranya. In fact, there is a movie in his life, and I'm sure that will be available on YouTube. You will be greatly inspired by what a genius and what great contribution Sri Vidyaranya has done. Now, these were 2 brothers from the region of Warangal. They went to the great teacher Shankarananda. Shankarananda was their teacher. And then the younger of the 2 brothers went in search of knowledge, and he reached Sringeri. Now, Vidyaranya, searching for his brother, found him as the junior pontiff under Vidya Shankara Tirtha. At that time, the Jagat Guru was Vidya Shankar, and his younger brother had already become Bharati Tirtha as the junior pontiff. Vidya Shankar then initiated Vidyaranya and gave him this name, Vidya Aranya. Aranya means forest. Even at that stage, his knowledge was so much, therefore he was given this name, Vidya Aranya. So these 2 brothers were at different periods of time. I think we have the time frame. That means the younger brother was the Jagat Guru from 1333 to 1380. That means quite a long number of years, more than around 47 years. And Vidyaranya was a Jagat Guru only for 6 years. So he succeeded, the younger brother succeeds the older brother. and from 1380 to 1386. And there are many other stories about the story of Goddess Lakshmi. I think in one of the talks I've already mentioned about how Goddess Lakshmi showered blessings and how Harihara and Bukka were, the Vijayanagara empire came into being. And then a little bit about Panchadashi. Panchadashi has got 15 chapters. Now, Panchadashi also means 15. After Amavasya, around 14 to 15 days is Panchadashi, Purnima. Purnima means cool illumination. So every time we see the full moon, let it remind us of the illumination given to us by Panchadashi. These 15 chapters can be divided into 3 categories. The first is called Viveka Panchakam, 1 to 5. Second is called Deepa Panchakam, 6 to dealing with, first is Sat, second is Deepa or illumination, that is Chit, and the third is Ananda, Sat Chit Ananda. But remember, even one text is enough to give us this wisdom. So I have already told you about Namashri Shankarananda, about this Atmanam Ched Vijaniyat. I'm not going into details in this class, but I will be having many opportunities to tell you more. I will take a little break and answer any of your questions because the promise of this chapter is the Tripti Dipa. What I'm going to tell you now is the 10th man story. Before the 10th man story, I will take a break. And what do we have after that? We will have one presentation by Chaitanya. That means you will get a model of how the whole teaching will be. The teaching will be, some of you will be allotted 1 or 2 verses. And during this satsang, there will be a presentation of that. It will be a presentation, just like Chaitanya is going to make a presentation now. And you have the opportunity to clarify your doubts. And then in the next class, in front of all of us, it is going to be recorded and uploaded on YouTube. So these alternative classes are not going to be recorded. It is going to be an informal discussion, informal presentation. And I will just take a break here before I come to the 10th man story. Any doubts, any questions at this stage? I have given you a very brief overview.
Do we have to have a Panchadashi book for reference for these classes?
Yes, we have to. I will give you, towards the end, I will tell you what are the books we need to read, what are the sources of information, how I got this information, and all that I'll be able to share with you.
Namaste.
Thank you for the question, because, you know, unless we have done our homework for these classes, and I want you to take this as a very sincere project. Don't take it seriously, but take it sincerely, because there is a great promise. Enlightenment is the promise. Yes, please. The second question.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Can you please share that how Panchadashi is broadly divided? You just shared a slide.
All right. I'll put that slide, come back to this.
Thank you, sir.
All right. If you can see the slide, we have Viveka Panchakam. You know, all the first 5 chapters are called Viveka. The first one is called, you know, I forget the name of the first chapter. So each of these chapters, like for instance, the second chapter, like just we have Atmanam Ched Vijaniyat. The entire chapter is based on one verse of Vidyaranya Upanishad. There is one verse from another Upanishad, which I think it is the Chandogya Upanishad. That is the second chapter. Why do I forget that?
The first one is Tattva Viveka.
So, Tattva Viveka. Second one is called? Second one is called?
Panchakosha Viveka.
Panchakosha is the third one. Panchakosha is the third one. Second chapter is called Sadeva Saumya Idamagra Asit Ekam Eva Advitiyam. This is the father telling the son, Sadeva Saumya. And imagine he's taken one verse and the entire chapter is going to be an elaboration of what is this Sat or what is this existence. So, as I said, for the time being, let us not go into all these details. Is it enough to know, just like Bhagavad Gita is divided into Shatkams, Pratama Shatkam, Madhyama Shatkam, and Charama Shatkam. The Pratama Shatkam deals with Tvam Padartha, Madhyama Shatkam deals with Tattva Padartha, and the Antima Shatkam deals with Asi Padartha. So too, you have the Pratama Panchakam dealing with Viveka, and Viveka deals with discrimination or Sat. Dipa or illumination deals with consciousness or Chit, and the last 5 deal with Ananda or Sat Chit Ananda. Meenakshi, is that
Thank
fine?
you, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? See, I have not even given an overview, but I will jump to that 10th man story. Is it okay to go straight to the 10th man story?
Yes, sir.
As we are running out of time, let me tell you about the 10th man story. Now, the 10th man story, all of us know, but this 10th man story will come 3 times in these 300 odd verses where Vidyaranya's brilliance you will see in the way he analyzes. And I will tell you why we are studying Panchadashi. Now, supposing this is Swamiji's example, I will give you a glass of water. And I'm about to drink that water. And then somebody tells you, just hold on. I have a doubt that, just a vague doubt is there in my mind that water may be contaminated. Now, if there is some contamination in that water, it may be a vague doubt. Am I going to consume that water? You will consume something only if you are absolutely clear about it. So if spiritual wisdom is very clear, then when somebody says, Tat Tvam Asi, you are that, only then you are going to consume that. If somebody says you are that, then you're going to laugh at that person. You may laugh silently, but you'll say, how can I be that? So the whole Dashama story, the whole of Panchadashi is to be able to bring about an internal clarity. Because if I am clear about Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, then I'm going to consume that. Now we'll come to the Dashama story. This is a story about all of you know the story, but the analysis of the story is really brilliant. This is a story of 10 students of a certain guru. They wanted to cross the river because there was something interesting happening for them across the river. And the guru gives them permission, and the leader of them says, I will take responsibility of bringing them all back safely. And they go. When they were going across, the water level was not very high. As you can see, they were able to wade across and go and had some fun, and they came back. But when they were coming back, the water level was very high. They had to swim. And then they had to hold each other. But when you're swimming, then they get disconnected from each other. So somehow they reach the other side. And once they reach the other side, now starts the 10th man story. Now, the first stage is they have all come across to the other side. They do not know whether all of them have come or not, but they are happy that they have come across. The first stage is the stage of ignorance, but it is called unexpressed ignorance. I do not know anything about Brahman. I do not know about Gita. I do not know about Panchadashi, like majority of the people in the world, but then there is no problem. They have ignorance is bliss. That is stage 1. Stage 2 is I know something about Gita, I know something about Upanishads, but I don't know much about it. Suddenly a doubt comes, have all people come? Are all 10 of us there or not? So a doubt comes. And when they count in their anxiety, they count only everybody other than them, and they find Dashamaha Nasti. So this is a stage of ignorance. And then there comes to a stage when this is called Vikshepa. Vikshepa means what happened to the 10th man? Did he get drowned? How will I meet my family? So the leader and all of them get into a lot of worry. And the whole samsara is stage 3. So stage 1 is unexpressed ignorance. Stage 2 is expressed ignorance. Stage 3 is one of getting very upset, banging your head against something, things have gone wrong. So all these 3 phases are the phases of ignorance. Fortunately for all of us, the 4th stage, we are in the 4th stage. Guru has come, and the Guru tells you a reassuring word, Dashamaha Asti. So you don't have to worry, everything will be fine. And these Vakya, this teacher who gives you paroksha jnanam, that all will be fine. And these are called avantara vakyas from the Vedas. They are called avantara vakyas. Just remember, now we are in 4th stage. That means we know about the 10th man is okay, but we don't know who the 10th man is. Then in the 5th stage, the teacher makes a certain technique. This is called a prakriya. Now count everybody. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then he says, count yourself as the 10th man. Then he says, Dashamaha Tvam eva tat tvam asi. You are. Now, when you get to realize I am that is called aparokshata jnana. I get to know the one I'm looking for is none other than myself. And that is stage 5 or the stage of Mahavakyam. So our whole journey is from stage 4 to stage 5. And then afterwards, what happens? Shoka nivritti and Tripti Prapti. A very quick analysis. Stage 1 is unexpressed ignorance or ignorance is bliss. Stage 2 is expressed ignorance. Where is the 10th man? Stage 3 is misconception born out of ignorance. Did he drown? How do I meet his family? Sometimes Swamiji says you bang your head and then you have other problems because of that. 4th stage is the Guru has come. The Guru says, don't worry. And he gives you paroksha jnanam, that dashamaha asti. And this is called the avantara vakyam of the Upanishads. Then comes the prakriya, the technique. Then he says, tat tvam asi. And the student realizes, then there is celebration, shoka nivritti and tripti prapti. And that is the analysis of the so many stages. I will take a break. One question before the next stage is a model presentation. You know, when a verse is allotted to you, the verse is given to you. As I said, it will be given well in advance. You will have 2 to 3 weeks time to take these verses. You will also be given enough literature. Where is the source of information? And then, but you will have to make your homework and you will be given 5 minutes time. In 5 minutes time, you have to share this wisdom. Now, questions about the Dashama story.
Sir, when you say expressed ignorance, does that mean that I become aware that I know nothing?
No, see, it is a little better than, ignorance is bliss. I do not know anything. So the spiritual quest is beginning. A person now knows, I do not know. In the first stage, the person did not know, he did not know. Now I know there is something worth knowing. And so therefore, maybe there is a chance to look for scriptural studies or looking for a guru and so on. So the second stage is still a stage of ajnanam, but the person is now beginning a search. The third stage is, a stage when a person's samsara is quite intense. One more question, and then I will have.
Sir, what is this paroksha and aparoksha?
Very good, very good. Okay. Yeah, our whole life will be, in 4 months, we'll be dealing with paroksha and aparoksha. All right. Now, supposing I want to go to Gangotri, Yamunotri, Chardham. I want to go to Badrinath. Now, how do I get some information? I'll go to YouTube. I will see some YouTube videos. I will get some impression about Badrinath, how to go to Badrinath, where is Badrinath, where is it is in Uttarakhand, and so on. Now, this information that you have got indirectly, I have not seen Badrinath myself, but I have got a lot of information. Paroksha, that means something far away or indirect. Now, whenever some information is far away or indirect, it is called paroksha jnanam. One day I am able to go to that place and see Badrinath, I see Gangotri, I see the Niagara Falls with my own eyes, pratyaksha. That means I'm using my sense organs. Then that is called pratyaksha. Now, when it comes to spiritual knowledge and getting to know about Brahman, Brahman is my essential self, nature, and therefore I will not be able to see myself. The teacher will only be able to hold a mirror and say, you are that. That discovery of yourself is neither paroksha nor pratyaksha. It is neither remote nor it is direct. It is not someone I can see. That knowledge about myself is called aparoksha. It is in a way direct, but it is called aparoksha. Shall I proceed?
I have a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned couple of words. The personal guru, how does one go? Is it required to go a personal guru, or is the knowledge the priority?
Yeah. See, you asked this question. Unless there is a living person who can clarify, I can get some knowledge, but when some doubts come, you will need a person to be able to clarify. And one of the most, I have learned in the field of medicine, in the field of brain surgery. Now, I know without a guru, we will not be able to get this kind of knowledge. So you need a guru who gives you knowledge, who gives you skills, who will handhold you to go through all this. So this is not only about knowledge, it is about a way of life. That's why you have Sthita Prajna. So that is why it is important to be at some stage, even little, close to a guru. So whenever we have a chance, sometimes we get these great teachers who are clearly realized beings. So that is why we have to make these opportunities to come in touch with the living guru, a person who is be able to answer your question. And after some time, a kind of a shraddha, a kind of a bonding happens to a certain person. So those who have a guru know all that. And then the guru seems to answer your imaginary questions. I mean, sometimes in the course, you have a doubt, and when you're listening to the guru seems to be answering exactly whatever doubts have happened in your mind. So it is important to have a direct guru, especially in the spiritual path. Otherwise, you will get a lot of paroksha jnanam. Our whole job is that paroksha has to become aparoksha. That catalytic process happens when a guru is there, and that happens much faster. That is why I use this word catalysts. A guru does not do anything, but in his presence, something magical happens.
Thank you.
All right, let us listen to what I call as a kind of a presentation, and this will be done by Chaitanya. Chaitanya has been allotted 2 verses. These are all difficult verses. Chaitanya, please.
Okay, this is just a rough draft.
You've not seen.
Okay. I'll have to prune it before the recording. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So through the 10th man story, Vidyaranya Swamy brings out 7 stages of spiritual evolution that one goes through. That is from ignorance to moksha. So the first step of Ajnana is explained in the previous verse, that is verse 29, where Ajnana is not recognizing the nature of one's true self. Okay, so I've been allotted verse 30 and 31. So verse 30 talks about the next 2 steps, Avarana and Vikshepa. Here, Vidyaranya says Avarana and Vikshepa is all because of Ajnana, the previous step. So Avarana is, or Avriti, as Swamiji says, or expressed ignorance, is a covering or a veiling of that which you want to see. So in the case of the 10th man, the one they were looking for was obscured by ignorance. Similarly, Atma, the truth about our true self, is also veiled. So we are ignorant about our true nature. But we should be aware that this veiling is partial. The one you are seeking is partially known and partially unknown. Why? Because if it is completely veiled, then there is no issue. You'll have no problems. Take the example of the rope and snake. If you're walking down the road and it is pitch black, then will you see a snake? No. So mistaking a rope for a snake will happen only when there is partial light. The rope is partially obscured and you know something is there, but its nature or swarupa is not known. In the same way, the Atma is partially obscured. If the Atma is fully covered, then you won't know you are conscious, but you know that you are conscious and that consciousness is Atma, is known to you. Its existence is known to you partially, but its swarupa, its nature is obscure. This is Avarana. Now, because of this partial obscurement comes the next step, Vikshepa, or a projection. So because the rope is partially obscured, you can project the snake on that rope. Because the Atma is partially obscured, you are able to project everything. I am this, I am that, I am a mother, I am a father, you in your emotions, I am happy, I am sad, etc. These are all examples of vikshepa. All these take place because of avarana. So covering and projection. So the verse in verse 30, Vidyaranya says, Kuthastha. Kuthastha literally means unchanging, referring to the consciousness which is unchanging. This unchanging consciousness is our true nature. But iti vakti prasangata. In this context, it is said, na bhati na asti. Na bhati means this attributeless consciousness, kuthastha, is not experienced at any time or place. Therefore, it does not exist for me. Na asti. So he denies its existence even when there is a discussion on this context because of his partial knowledge. This is avarana. As Swamiji says, express ignorance. Therefore, you know you are conscious, but you do not know the nature of your consciousness as kutastha or unchanging. Because of this partial covering of consciousness, we think ourselves as aham asmi, I am the karta, the doer, and the bhokta, the enjoyer of all these experiences. I am a thinking, feeling human being engaged in all worldly activities. And because of this, we suffer. So this way of thinking leads to vikshepam pratipadyate. These are projections establishing us as a karta or a bhokta. So this false notion and self-misconception is called vikshepa. So in this verse, says, due to avarana, one says, I am not kutastha, the unchanging consciousness. When your true nature as this kutastha is veiled, then it leads to the next step of vikshepa or projection. So instead of saying, I am the unchanging consciousness, due to the covering, we project and identify with the body and mind. In effect, because of avarana, we are projecting the attributes of the mind and the body onto the consciousness. So we just did the laws of Vedanta. So according to the laws of Vedanta, the attributes of the body belongs to the body. The attributes of the mind belongs to the mind. None of the attributes belong to consciousness. But due to avarana and vikshepa, we superimpose these attributes onto the consciousness. So how do we remove this avarana and vikshepa? First, through indirect knowledge, which is called paroksha jnana. Like the 10th man is told by the Guru that the one you were looking for is here now amongst you. In the same way, you hear that Atma is Satchidananda. You gain this knowledge first as an information or paroksha jnana. Then this paroksha jnanam gets converted to aparoksha jnanam or direct knowledge. So in this verse 31, the next verse, we see an analysis of paroksha and aparoksha jnanam. The first line talks about paroksha jnanam, indirect knowledge, and the second line talks about aparoksha jnanam or direct knowledge. So the verse goes like this, asti kutastha iti ityadav. The fact that the unchanging kutastha exists, paroksham veti, one knows indirectly. How do you know that unchanging consciousness exists? Through information, vartaya. We get this information from our scriptures and teachers. This is indirect knowledge, paroksha jnanam. But does this paroksha jnanam, this information, put an end to our suffering? No, because this indirect knowledge about ourselves does not put an end because this information is remote. Paroksha jnanam is third-person knowledge. Therefore, it is not enough. This knowledge has to be converted to aparoksha, which is direct or the first-person knowledge. So Swamiji says, paschat, later, kutastha eva, unchanging consciousness alone, asmi, I am. So notice in the first line, he says kutastha asti, that is third person. And here he says kutastha asmi, that is direct. So one has to move from indirect knowledge to direct. Thus, the one knows I am this unchanging kutastha. So how does this paroksha jnanam get converted to aparoksha jnanam? He says it is through vicharat, through inquiry. Inquiry into what? So we have to be clear. We don't go deeper into the Shastras. Like if a newspaper gives you some information, you go onto the internet and search some more info. So it is still paroksha because you're getting more and more information. In the same way, when the scriptures talk about kutastha, and when you inquire into the scriptures more deeply, you're going to get more and more information. So if you want to convert this indirect knowledge into direct, then you should do it in the right way. And he says, aparoksha jnanam is about me, I. So vicharataha means the further level of inquiry should be self-inquiry, inquiry into one's own nature. So we have to move from Shastra Vichara to Atma Vichara. Indirect knowledge gets converted into direct knowledge. How? Through Shravanam, Mananam, and Nidityasanam. So now you know through this that I am not this body, I am not this mind. Then what am I? I am Satchidananda Atma. With that discovery, sadness and suffering goes away, and you discover yourself to be Tripta or content, full and complete. Shoka Nivritti and Tripti is attained. Thank you.
You will see both the difficulty and see, as I said, if you are a little more prepared for all these verses, it will become possible. So Vidyaranya has made it as simple as possible, but we know the whole journey is difficult. The journey is what? From paroksha jnanam. I know about Brahman, I know about Chit Ananda, but now I have to convince myself that Chit Ananda Brahman is myself. Any questions for a few minutes? Then I will come and tell you, how do we get this information? Where do we get this knowledge?
So it was an excellent presentation by Chaitanya ma'am. It was very clear and simple. I have one doubt, sir, because I could understand. I have a doubt. Is aparoksha after Jnana or Jnana Nishta, sir?
It should be after Jnana Nishta only.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
See, Jnana Nishta is aparokshatva. Jnana Nishta means now, see, once you know you are the 10th man, now at any stage in your life, are you going to forget? You'll never forget, isn't it? See, remember those boys. That is why this story is so useful all the time. Now, once the teacher has told you, the one that you were looking for, the one whom you thought was drowned, the one you thought you had to meet his parents and say what, now that fellow is you. Now, once you realize that, Vasumati, are you going to forget that? That knowledge is Jnana Nishta. So we have to get that knowledge like the 10th boy has got it. And that is why somehow the guru has to put that information inside your head. So that's why in neurosurgery, we have various operations where you can drill a small hole and inject some material inside. I think we have to do something like that.
Yeah, please do that, sir.
Because there is the skull and there is so many barriers.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. In this verse, there is no role of pratyaksha, right, sir?
Correct. See, pratyaksha is okay for vyavahara knowledge. Yes. Now, I would know about the heart. I can take them to a model, to the operating room, and then show them, okay, this is the beating heart. I can, to the cadaver lab. But then pratyaksha does not work here because Atma can never be seen, no? It is the seer. That is why you need a guru. And that is why the guru needs not normal teaching techniques. That is why in the Kathopanishad, one of the chapters we have selected is Kathopanishad. See, these are all wonderful techniques that our Shastras have given somehow to internalize that, through the thick skull, that information has to go inside.
Sir, is it not like this? Only because of aparoksha jnana, you become Jnana Nishta.
Correct, correct.
Only when you get aparoksha jnana, you become Jnana Nishta.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah. See, once you know that yet sakshat kurute prabodha samaye swatmanameva, that is that waking up date. And once you wake up, there is no going back. So it is in a way all or none. See, either you have got it or not, but it is our potential. If one person can get it, all of us can get it. And, it is something that is going to happen and will happen, and all of us, it is your birthright. We are going to make it happen in this life. Now, can I go to the source of knowledge, and then I will get you where we can get all these information.
Yes, please.
All right. Now, we had enough of Bhagavad Gita today, but in all our classes, there will be one verse. I have chosen one model verse. Remember, you know which chapter this is. Arjuna asked Sri Krishna this question. Second chapter, verse number
72.
54.
Yeah. All right. So, Stita Prajna Ka Bhasha. Can you tell me about Stita Prajna? So, I will take this as my favorite verse for this class. And the verse goes like this. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogata Atmaneva Atmana Tushta Stita Prajnyo Taduchate. Now, Shri Krishna gives one of the most brilliant answers to say who is the aparokshata jnani. Now, remember these words. Jahati. Jahati means to give up. Prajahati means to completely give up. Completely give up what? Sarvan Kaman Manogatan. My mind has the ability to generate a lot of kamas because of avidya kama karma. All right. But there is a method where all these kamas can be dropped. How? Atman evatmana tushtaha. Once you know your true nature, then you become so full, you become a Stita Prajna, such a person, all the kamas, you develop Tripti. If there is one verse of the Bhagavad Gita which describes Tripti, is this verse. So this verse of the Bhagavad Gita is the verse for Tripti Dipa Prakaranam. So I will not touch upon that. All of you are Gita experts. Now I'm coming to source books. Now, you can go to Chinmay Mission or to Amazon and get this book, wonderful book by Swami Tejomayananda on Tripti Dipa Prakaranam. All the verses are given, and let this be like a handbook. Swami Anubhavananda also has written a book. This will also be available on Amazon. These are the two textbooks for us. Now, Swami Paramarthananda Ji, our Guru, you can go to Yoga Malika and get his talks on Tripti. He has spoken on each of these verses. And in this whole methodology of teaching, there is something called Purva Pakshi. A Purva Pakshi is a person is like, if I can use the word Vasumati, who asks doubts. And doubts are raised, doubts are answered. And Swami Paramarthananda is the genius. I would like you to introduce another great teacher, Swami Tadatmananda, also coming from the same school of Swami Dayananda. In fact, in his talks, he refers to Swami Paramarthananda with great respect. And even today, I was listening to him speak about, I was listening to Swami Paramarthananda and talk in Sanskrita on Vichara, one of those, whatever. And he says, in between his Sanskrita talks, he gives some brilliant English and Tamil phrases. Tamil I'm not able to get, but he was quoting about. Now, how do we get Swami Tadatmananda's talks? Swami Tadatmananda's talk on Tripti Dipa is there on Spotify. It is there on my phone. Now, if you can download Spotify, if you can download the Tripti Dipa, that means wherever you are, whenever you are, you have Swami Tadatmananda speaking to you. And Spotify is a wonderful software, and it goes verse by verse in a sequence. So wherever you stop, you continue. If you have another problem with Spotify, you can go to Arsha Bodha website, and in Arsha Bodha website, you will be able to get all Swami Tadatmananda's talks. Go to 7th chapter of Panchadashi. You can either download his talks, Swami Paramarthananda's audios. So these two audios will be great sources of information for all of us. Again, I'm open to any questions that you have, and within 5 minutes, we'll conclude this class.
So I think Swami Paramarthanandaji's talks are not available, audios are not available.
But in Yoga Malika, there should be, you can buy it on Yoga Malika, no?
Yeah, you can have, yes.
It should be available on Yoga Malika.
Yeah, it's a paid.
Yeah, there is a Swami Tadatmananda's is available. And of course, all teachers request that, even though it is free, you can make a donation. And we will, as Param Vedanta, and individually also make donation to Swami Tadatmananda for his talks. That is freely available on Spotify and on his website. And as I said, listen to both these teachers, and you will see, our work will become simplified. And remember, all of us are preparing for that October retreat with Swami Anubhavananda. These 3-4 months will be a form of a preparation. Every Tuesday, please join us in these classes. These Tuesday classes will not be recorded. I have put the record button today, but it will be deleted. It is not going to be uploaded. But whatever introduction I have given will be recorded in a later class. It will be given in a properly recorded. And whatever Chaitanya has done, that when it comes to verse 30 and 31, those will also be recorded. In a way, this formal part of this class will be recorded on YouTube. But then remember, we are 1 month ahead. Sometime in 10th of July, these classes will be uploaded on YouTube.
So somebody had a question on the chat. What is reflected consciousness, if you have time?
Yeah. What is reflected consciousness? What is original consciousness? Now, our whole discussion will be on these things. Now, that is why some knowledge of Tattva Bodha is important. Original consciousness is Atma or Brahma. All of us are conscious, and that consciousness is Atma, and that is everywhere. Now, all of us have a mind. Our mind is like the mirror. Just like when you stand in front of the mirror, you are real. There is a reflecting surface, the mirror. And when you stand in front, a new entity is born. There is a reflection of yourself in the mirror. That reflected self, which is there, which looks like you, but it is not you. It is only an image. And that is what is called Chidabhasha. Chidabhasa means reflected consciousness. The mind has the ability to reflect the original consciousness. Because I have a mind, because you have a mind, we are able to reflect the original consciousness, and a new entity is born. That new entity is the sense of ego. I am the Mappa, I am Nita, I am Dr. Ravi Shankar. So this new entity that is born, which is actually a pseudo entity, it is there, but not, it is of a lower order of reality, just like the image on the mirror is not as real as the mirror or the person who's standing in front of you. So Chidabhasha means reflected consciousness. We can take it as the ego or my lower self.
So just for the information of all the viewers here, the Panchadashi, the first Viveka Panchaka, that the names are Tattva Viveka, Panchabhuta Viveka, Panchakosha Viveka, Dvaita Viveka, and Mahavakya Viveka. And the Deepa Panchaka is Chitra Dipa, Tripti Dipa, Kutastha Dipa, Jnana Dipa, and Nataka Dipa. I got it from G.B. Kulkarni's books.
No, I know. So I'm sure, let this kindle a certain amount of interest in Panchadashi. So do your own reading. But then, as I said, let us focus on these classes. You will experience difficulty when you heard Chaitanya's verses. You will see the difficulty, and when you are asked to make the presentation, then suddenly you will wake up into a new level of difficulty. See, the Bhagavad Gita is very easy, easily digestible. But then, as I said, it has given us Jnanam. We need to proceed a little more from paroksha to aparoksha. We are not going to forget the Bhagavad Gita. We'll keep the Bhagavad Gita handy, but then we will use these classes to move from paroksha to aparoksha. We will handhold each other and we'll bring each other together. I will request Shamala to give a concluding prayer, but then I'm not concluding the class. I'll keep the class available for another 1 more minute before we conclude.
Om Sarvesham Swasti Bhavatu
Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Thank you very much. We have another 1 minute or 2 minutes if there are any questions relating to this topic.
I have no question, but I have thought for myself that I wish I was not wise and intellectual, judging myself that moksha is not possible, and would be like a bhakta who believes Krishna and says, I will reach moksha. I wish I was that.
Sir, I was preparing for this pramana prameya, sir. Pratyaksha is one of the pramanams.
Correct. Correct.
But it comes also under pratyaksha, aparoksha, and aparoksha. So there are two different lines of.
See, whenever you learn something indirectly, that means your sense organs are not in touch with it, but you have learned it because of shabda. Somebody has spoken to you and somebody has given you some information through shabda pramana, for instance. That is when you have got some knowledge through shabda, through these words, that is paroksha. Now, there is a distant star, it may be far away, but I can see it with my eyes, because even though it may be so many light years away, if I can see a star with my eyes, that is pratyaksha. The distance does not matter. But if I'm able to see the star with my own sense organs, that knowledge that comes when you see, that is called pratyaksha. Now, when it comes to self-knowledge, both paroksha and pratyaksha, there is no question of pratyaksha because you can't see yourself. Paroksha jnanam certainly helps. Brahman is Chit and Ananda, adreshyam, agrahyam, agotram, avarnam. You get all that knowledge. But finally, the teacher has to put it inside your brain and say, yes, yes, all those things that I said earlier are all about me. That is aparoksha.
Is paroksha also a pramana, sir?
First Vasumati, then Nita. Tell me.
Is paroksha also pramana, sir?
Paroksha comes through one of the shabda pramana.
Okay, thank you.
So when you read through books and all that, that is using shabda pramana. We listen to your talk this Saturday. So this Saturday, Vasumati, see, before we go to Panchadashi proper, we have some general introductory talks. And that will be recorded this Saturday. You're all welcome to join the recording that happens. It will be recorded and later on it will be uploaded on YouTube. Nita had a question.
Sir, no, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say that, I've been reading Panchadashi, and Vidyaranya so brilliant talks about paroksha jnanam and aparoksha jnanam, and he will put the Purva Pakshi side, that what are the doubts that come, why should something that is, we are saying it's the subject, then why are we talking about aparoksha when it's not far away? And he just brilliantly answers each question again. And every doubt will be cleared by the end of it. It's 300, all the verses, it's just lovely.
Thank you very much, Nita. And I fully endorse what you say. We have to be with these classes. We'll be going very slow. Initially, we'll have doubts, but then each of these doubts will be addressed and will be answered. So with a deep sense of gratefulness to all our acharyas who have brought us together, and let us have this commitment that we are here to help each other through satsanga and to proceed. Thank you very much. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.